Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar, How to Make Your Ad Dollars Work Harder. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency. And we're best known for our search engine optimization, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. Dealer On was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2011, 2012, and 2013. And Dealer On customers have been winners of the Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards, highly coveted overall winner, and unprecedented 5 times in a row. Yeah, we're the only website company that can claim that. Dealer On is so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee to get you at least 50% more leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have John Fitzpatrick as our presenter today. John Fitzpatrick is the president and CEO of Force Marketing, one of the nation's most successful vertical marketing agencies, and recognized the last 5 years in a row on Inc. magazine's 5,000 fastest growing private companies in America. Most recently, Force was ranked 64th on the list of Atlanta's 100 fastest growing businesses. The firm's clients include a wide range of dealers, from single store owners to automotive groups that service upwards of 200 stores, including AutoNation, the largest U.S. automotive retailer. The firm also conducts direct mail and digital marketing campaigns both nationally and regionally for General Motors, American Honda Motor Company, and Kia Motors America, just to name a few. John is an avid traveler, and he can be reached at jwfitz at forcemktg.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we'll respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Force Marketing are giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a $250 Amex gift card. For your chance to win that awesome prize, well, you got to get online and tweet using the hashtag SmartAdDollars with a comment about today's webinar. We're going to select the best tweet from one of our attendees to win this great prize and announce it at the end of John's presentation. You can also follow Force Marketing on Twitter with the handle @ForceMarketing and follow today's presenter, John Fitzpatrick, at JWFitzForce. So stay tuned to see who'll be walking away with this totally cool prize today. Remember, you want to tweet using the hashtag SmartAdDollars. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for great feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So we're going to have some fun today. Let's get started. Let's learn how to make your ad dollars work harder. John Fitzpatrick, I am so glad you are not frozen someplace in Atlanta, and you are here today to tell us how to make our ad dollars work harder. Thank you so much for being here again today. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're doing awesome. We did get through the storm here in Atlanta, and just want to say thanks for having us. And you do a great job with facilitating this program for Dealer On, and we really appreciate being great partners of yours and being able to contribute and participate.
John, you're very kind. I certainly couldn't put on a great show without great presenters just like you, and you put on an amazing show the last time you were here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of golden nuggets you're going to be dropping down on our audience today. What are the kinds of things that we're going to be learning about? Because this is a very timely subject. I mean, you know, the economy's pretty rough on everyone, and dealerships too. So stretching those ad dollars and making them work harder for us couldn't come at a better time. So tell us, what kinds of things are we going to be learning about today?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. So we want to make sure, first and foremost, that we are respectful of everyone's time. We appreciate the many dealerships that are logged in and, spending their lunch hour with us. So we want to get, right to the point. You'll notice that's kind of the way we tend to do things here. And really it's to generate thought about the overall ad expenditure of a dealership, and we focused on dealers that were spending $100,000 or less per month as their overall advertising budgets per rooftop. We feel that that's the majority. NADA tells us on average that a dealership is spending close to $300,000 a month, but with all of the publicly traded companies out there spending huge amounts of money, I think that's inflated to their side of things. At Force, the dealers that we represent and we work with over 700 every single month, we feel that it's really more in that $80,000 to $100,000 a month. And then for that, and if that's the case, and you are competing in your markets with these bigger automotive groups that have much larger budgets, then it's vitally important that your budget is spent very, very specifically targeted, and we're going to share some of that with you. So the first step to that really for us is eliminating the waste, making sure that, and these are some things that we feel you can do by eliminating the waste, which would be start investing in the right mediums. I get dealers all the time that'll ask me, should I still be spending money in TV, radio, print, billboards, all of those traditional elements? And I would suggest, again, on $100,000 or less, that should be a very, very small portion, if any, of your budget in 2014 and beyond, just based on all the key data points. And really what it is not necessarily that they can't afford to be spending on traditional medium. They can't afford to be spending on any medium that's not trackable. If you can't track an ROI on every dollar that you're spending, regardless of where that dollar is being spent, then it shouldn't be spent. And so I leave them kind of with that. We want to make big data. We keep hearing about big data out there and all the different news outlets. I particularly am fond of CBT News because I can log in every morning with my cup of coffee and spend 5 minutes, understanding what's going on in the industry. They give me a recap of the past 24 hours. So I highly suggest that if you're not tuning in to cbtnews.com that you do that. But we keep hearing about big data, and what does that mean to me if I'm the GM or dealer principal at a single point store or in any market with any stores really? How do I use big data to my advantage? So we want to show you, or hope to show you, or get you thinking about how you can take big data and make it manageable and then, of course, profitable at your dealership. And then inspect what you expect. We oftentimes, as business owners, don't do a good job of that. I know I'm guilty of it at times as well, but all the way through our dealership and our businesses, we first need to have expectations, set them, and make sure they're very clear. I'm a big believer of goals. Every single person at Force, and there's 72 of us now, know exactly what our goals are for the future, where we're headed, and more specifically how we're getting there. So the question that I would ask many dealers that I partner with, first and foremost, is do the people that work at your dealership, let's say the 100 or 120 associates you have, know what you're shooting for that month? Know how many cars you have on the lot, how many people, personnel, it's going to take to sell those vehicles, to service those vehicles, how many bays you have, what you're expecting. Do they know what you're expecting? And then more importantly, on my side of it, do your vendors know? And is that a two-way street? Are you sharing information with your vendors, or are you holding that back and making it a competition? Well, I know these key data points, but I'm not going to share that with you. You've got to form partnerships with the vendors out there, and there's many good ones, that understand the goals of your store and your group, and that understand, setting the right expectations and having a team that's going to meet them is very, very important. So inspect what you expect, and we're going to show you a little bit more in terms of how to read the reporting that some of the vendors in the space are putting out there, and what is the key elements to be looking for. So we'll move right into that. Start investing in the right medium. So we feel, again, that with a $100,000 or less ad budget, and really, in my opinion, in any ad budget, but we're going to focus on those, you've got to be trackable, tangible, and targeted with every dollar. And you'll see on the left three mediums that we feel very, very passionate about can deliver just that with your advertising expenditure. The ones on the right, it's very, very tough to do so. And I haven't seen a way to truly track a TV ad spend or a print campaign that you ran or a radio spot. And as you look into those individual mediums, where they're headed, you question, why is that still a part of my strategy? And I still see so many dealers spending majority of their budgets in those particular areas, and not enough in the direct mail, digital, and email space. they throw out different numbers all the time in terms of what the average person or what percent the average consumer goes online to research their vehicle, and I've heard 91%, 92%, look, it's very close to 100%. And if that's the case, if you have very close to 100% of everybody in your market going online first, whether that be through their mobile device, their laptop, their desktop, or their tablet, and in some cases, in many cases, they're using all three, to research their next purchase, and hitting on average 26 different key points, whether that be AutoTraderCars.com or other competitors of yours, then what are you doing to stand out and become relevant according to what they're searching for in your market? How are you doing that? So I would really want to make sure that you are looking into that, and the vendors that you're using are sharing that information with you. Don't be scared to make a change. That's a big, big thing that we talk about when we sit down and partner with any dealer group that wants to do business with us. It's first a consultation appointment where we want to find out all the goals and everything like that, but it's also, let's not be scared to make a change in where you're spending those dollars. We want to make sure they're tangible. We want to make sure that, in direct mail or an email, I know, and in digital as well, I know exactly who I served an ad up to. And I know exactly the message that I delivered to that particular person. I know when they opened it on email. I know to some degree with direct mail when they're calling in or how they're showing up to the dealership or whether or not they're logging on to a site that we've created to drive them to fill out a form or call the dealership or set a service appointment. And so we want to make sure that our ad dollars are going towards trackable and then tangible items. And then targeted, highly targeted. Our stats are alarming with personalization of the ad messaging that's targeted specifically to what they're searching for. And we've got a great partnership in Datium, and there's a lot of other companies out there, Polk, Experian, TransUnion, where you can get a lot of different information and then put together a strategy that's very highly targeted and very personalized to the people that you're serving up ad messaging to in your marketplace to come in and do business with you. So we want to make sure they're trackable, they're tangible, and they're targeted. And we feel that the left side, those mediums, are your best bet in achieving those three keys. So we want to make sure we look at that. So real quick, I want to throw out a question to the poll, or a poll question here to the group of listeners that we've got on today. It kind of will help identify, these mediums and where our ad dollars are being spent.
I think that's a great idea. Audience, we want to know what you're doing at your dealership. So if you could, please get involved with our poll questions. They really help us out and let us take a pulse of what's going on in the automotive industry. So the first poll question we have for you today is, where are you currently spending the largest portion of your advertising budget? Is it, and please select one of the following options, is it on TV? Is it radio? Is it print? Is it direct mail, or are you going digital? We want to know. Please select one of those answers, and once we get a majority of the votes in, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. Now, John, I have to say, this is a little difficult because out of those 5 options, TV is pretty expensive compared to the rest of them, isn't it?
It sure is.
It sure is.
There's a lot of Comcast and a lot of cable providers will show you a way that they can bring that down and become, a little bit more targeted with the consumers in your market you're trying to approach. But again, how do I correlate that to a person in my showroom? How do I know that they watched TV and then actually came in to do business with me from either a service or sales situation? So yeah, I agree.
I feel like one commercial on TV might cost you as much as, an entire direct mail campaign, for instance, But I don't actually know the numbers, so I might be speaking out of turn. But we do have a majority of the votes in. John, if you're ready, I'll close this poll and share the results.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
do it. Okay. Hopefully you like these answers from our very savvy audience today. So our overwhelming majority, 69% of today's audience, said that they are spending most on digital. 19% said it's TV that takes up most of their budget. Only 6% said it was direct mail, and an even 3% goes towards radio and print. John, is that what you expected to see?
That's better than I expected to see. 69% in digital is a fantastic number, and that means that we've got a very dialed-in audience. And they're understanding that that is where they need to be in this space. So that's really, really good. And it really, brings in, the rest of our presentation, because we want to take that and make that even more targeted for them. So if they're already spending a considerable amount in digital, that's great news.
I agree. Good job, audience. We got another couple of poll questions coming your way in a little bit, so hang tight. John?
Yeah, so this was a good stat that we saw, and you guys can read it, but I'll read it aloud as well. In the Business Insider Summary, top research firm eMarketer reports that between 2009 and 2013, the amount of time Americans spent on TV versus other forms of media dropped from 45% to 38%. Meanwhile, mobile, including mobile video, exploded from 4% to 20%. So we're seeing that shift very specifically, and my guess is that that will continue to go just like that. And then even the ones, this is another side note, even the people that are spending time on TV, there's over 75% of people that are watching TV have some sort of digital device in their hands that they are using, whether that be their mobile phone, their tablet, or right in front of, or their laptop. They are watching TV and interacting online at the same time. So even if you are spending money in TV, we want to make sure that there is a comprehensive, strategic approach to how we're going to capitalize on those viewers through our online efforts. Another interesting stat, and I love stats, although we didn't fill them with too many in this particular slide presentation, but 85% of consumers will be loyal if retailers deliver more personalized promotions based on consumers' wants and interests. So again, that's tying into being extremely targeted and making sure that your ad messaging is relevant to what they're searching for. So we'll move into how do we do that. And we feel that, again, the big data that's being thrown around, and these companies up here like Polk and Datium and Experian are doing a great job of collecting and aggregating all these different data points. In Datium's case, they're tracking online consumer behavior across over 13,000 websites and 30 million plus different online automotive shoppers every single day. And the data points that they're able to share with dealers are very, very impressive. Very impressive. But even if you're getting that data, do you understand how to read the data? And then do you understand, more importantly, how to apply that data to your marketing strategy to deliver a higher ROI and thus, make your ad dollars work harder? And I would make sure that one major takeaway here today, because I know many dealers out there are using some sort of a vendor or an ad agency or an SEM provider, maybe multiple, maybe they're using one that's facilitating all of that for them, or maybe they have multiple different partnerships arranged. But make sure that your vendors are partnered with the right data companies, or that you're sharing the data that you get from your store and from all the data points that you get. The OEMs do a good job of it too, but a lot of that's coming from Polk, to make sure that you're putting together a strategy that's specific to driving consumers into your dealership in a very trackable, tangible, and targeted way. And so applying that data is very, very important. And I think that's where it's really, inspect what you expect, because I don't think there's many dealer groups that are using the data to go to market with an ad campaign specifically themselves. Like I said, most are using vendors. So press the vendors, challenge them, make sure they're partnered with them, and again, make sure that they're putting together a specific strategy that's tailored to your store. The same strategy that works for a Chevy store in one part of the country, let's call it Miami, versus a Chevy store in Denver, Colorado, is completely different and should be completely different, because what the data points are telling us is that consumers are shopping differently, in some cases for different models, in different markets. So the same strategy for one franchise doesn't necessarily work across the board in every market that you're in. Yes, every market's got two things. They've got people that want to sell cars and people that want to buy cars. But the way in which they're buying those vehicles, or more importantly, searching for those vehicles, is different. And the biggest thing online that we want to be as marketers is relevant with our ad copy and with our messaging and our targeting to what those people are searching for. So it's vitally important that you understand the data points and what those key indicators are telling you. So get the right data, understand the data, and then apply the data in every form and fashion. And I'm just going to reiterate that we've got the hashtag #SmartAdDollars. We've got that going on, so we want to make sure that you guys are out there on Twitter at Force Marketing or myself at JWFitzForce, and share with us if you're doing that, if you're not doing that, any questions that you might have as we continue on here. But to bring that point home a little bit more, before I get into the next slide, actually, the one thing that I love about data and understanding data and applying it the right way is it's a great tool for accountability. It's a fantastic tool to measure performance. We want to make sure that we are getting the most out of all of our partnerships, whether that be with an ad agency or SEM provider or whatever, direct mail house, an email marketing company. But if we don't have the right data points and we're not getting them and we're not understanding them and applying them, then how are we able to hold those people accountable? So I would say that if for nothing else, use it as a tool for accountability, and again, to measure the performance of the strategy that you've got put down. So we're going to go into a poll question again, because this is going to go into my next part of the presentation, and try to get some insight as to what our listeners feel how data is important in particular markets, back to that point. So go ahead with the poll question.
Thank you, John. All right, audience, next poll question is on your screen now. And I think you might have to take a guess on this one, but let's see how you do. The question is, what is the #1 cross-shopped vehicle for the Nissan Altima in Denver, Colorado? It's a very specific question. So let's see how good you are guessing. Do you think it's the Accord, the Fusion, the Camry, the Malibu, or is it the Sonata? The #1 cross-shopped vehicle to the Nissan Altima in Denver, Colorado. So once we get a majority of the votes, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. And I got news for you, John. I have no clue what the right answer is to this. Is this something I should know?
Did we get him back yet?
I'm here. I can hear you. Did I lose you?
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe for a second, but we're good.
Okay. Don't freak me out. I was just saying, I don't know the answer to this. Is this something I should know?
Well, we'll see. Seriously, this is a really easy question, and it was positioned that way for a specific reason, which we'll see, but it's very easy.
Okay, so I have it in my mind what I think it is, but it is not jiving with what the audience thinks it is. So now I'm thinking I'm wrong. But audience, thank you so much. What?
I just want to know, what were you thinking? Now that you've got this, before you tell me the feedback, what are you thinking?
What was I thinking? I think it's the Accord, but that's only because I always feel like Nissan and Honda go up against each other. But I'm probably wrong. So, because you know what? When we look at the votes that came in from the audience, and I'm going to close this poll now and share the results. Well, only 6% of today's audience thought it was the Accord, and they probably know better than me. 50% of today's audience think it's the Fusion. 25% think it's the Camry. 6% think it's the Malibu, and 14% think it's the Sonata. So, John, we're all waiting. What's the right answer?
The right answer, well, first let me go back. You are right in that from a national standpoint, the two biggest cross-shop vehicles to the Nissan Altima are the Toyota Camry and the Honda Accord. But again, back to my point of using big data specific to your market, what we then found when looking at the online consumer behavior of the consumer specifically in Denver, Colorado, we actually found that the the people that responded here were right. It is the Ford Fusion, and overwhelmingly, 2.5 to 1. The Ford Fusion was the most cross-shop vehicle in the Denver market, even though, from a national standpoint, the Toyota Camry or the Honda Accord were those the more cross-shop vehicles. So again, when we have those data points, now what can we do with them? And and again, if we want to be relevant with what they're searching for, there are so many things in just knowing that key point, and there's many, many other metrics that we have that are much deeper than this. But just knowing this, we can make our ad copy more specific. We can make a comparison and make sure that anybody searching for a Nissan Altima, if I'm a Ford dealer, I want to make sure that I show all the advantages that a Ford Fusion has over the Nissan Altima, and I want to drive them through my ad copy to get to a page on my website that specifically outlines that, because we know, again, that that's the question. If I'm a Nissan Altima person, I want to do the opposite, or Nissan Altima dealer, rather, I want to do the exact opposite. I want to make sure that I know 2-to-1 that Ford is my most cross-shop vehicle, so I want to point out all of the significant advantages, whether it be dealer incentives or whatever's going on, or the car, or miles per gallon, or all the things, maybe the inventory that I have on my lot. You know, we've got capabilities in digital to put the actual inventory, the specific dynamic inventory that we have, right into the ad copy based on the searches that are going on. So if I know that I've got, you know, an abundance of Ford Fusions, even if I'm a Nissan Altima dealer, I might want to highlight that, hey, look, you can come get a brand new Nissan Altima, and we've got so many in stock at, you know, prices ranging from, you know, $15,000 to $25,000 or whatever the numbers might be. But we also have 6 Ford Fusions in stock that are in perfect condition, and I can highlight all the different value propositions to the Ford Fusions in my used car department. And so really I am, you know, bringing a consumer that said, wow, I'm actually cross-shopping both those vehicles. By just going to ABC Nissan here in Denver, Colorado, I can actually achieve both. And so there's so much depth, but into understanding the big data, the key points. But it's important, again, that you're partnered with someone, or that you've got someone at the dealership level that is getting these data points first, understanding them, and applying them in a way that's actually driving consumers into your dealership. And so really what that brings me to is, and this was just one illustration, is the reporting of that and inspecting what we expect. This is a interesting slide for us. When we are brought in to partner with a dealership group, a lot of times it's very important for us to first understand where the dealership has been. So we say, well, let's collect all the data. Let's download your DMS. Let's understand all the key points that we need to know about who your consumer is now, or traditionally who your consumer has been, down to the zip codes that they're coming in from, how they bought their vehicles, whether they purchased a vehicle or leased a vehicle, I mean, all the different things that we can get from the DMS. We want to find out who is servicing those vehicles with us, and then who we are not active, and we haven't heard from them in a while, so we have to assume they're servicing their vehicle somewhere else. Let's find out all the opportunities. Let's find out all the challenges of the store. Let's find out how the store, you know, is built, and the personnel all the way down to the inventory. But one of the other things that we do is we say, well, who have you been working with, and share with us as many metrics and reporting as you can. So this up here is a sample reporting from a digital marketing provider on a campaign that was a conquest strategy against competitors, as you see in the top left. And, you know, the person that showed us this, I won't share who the competitor was with, because it's not the goal here. The goal here is, what are we looking at? And what's important on here? Quite honestly, while all these numbers look great at a first glance, they don't really tell me much about if my ad messaging and if my ad expenditure, rather, was worth it or was sufficient. Was it a success? I don't know. I can't measure success on this. Clicks and impressions, this checks in. Clicks and impressions do not sell vehicles. Impression, by definition, an impression is counted each time your ad is shown on a search results page or other site. That's an impression. Now, if you think about that, let's look at this. There's 394,000 impressions served up on this campaign, 394,096. 394,096 of those impressions, by definition, could be to one consumer 394,000 times. It's not, in many cases, But were 5 of them to the same person, 10, 20? What's that number? What does an impression mean to me? Well, you know, the best way that I can describe it is tying it in, because we do digital marketing, direct mail, and email, is tying it into direct mail. Because direct mail has been around forever. We've done it forever. There's different ways to do it and to be really effective with it. But let's use this in terms of direct mail. If we sent out 394,000 direct mail campaigns, first of all, it'd be better than an impression, because I know I at least went to 394,000 different households. That I at least know, right? But if I went to 394,000 households and only 404 people actually opened the mail piece, because what a click is they saw the impression and then they clicked through. But again, they didn't convert in any way. They're still not a lead to me. They're just a click. So in the mail example, if I sent 394,000 direct mail campaigns and only 404 people actually opened that mail piece, I would never get your business again, ever. That's a terrible, terrible result to that campaign. But why is it acceptable online? Why do we look at this as the dealer said? Well, they're doing pretty good. I mean, I don't know how good they are, which is really the biggest answer that we get, bar none, is, well, we're not really sure. They're doing okay, but they don't even know what that is, because they haven't taken the time to educate themselves to say, well, what is good? Or
that was my question, John. What is good? What should it be saying?
Exactly, and we've got that on the next slide. We'll share with you what industry averages are in these areas. But just getting clicks and impressions, as many people are still reporting, is not the way we need to be operating with sharing information of how well a campaign did. You know, the click-through rate of 0.10%, you know, terrible. The average cost per click, which, you know, again, how relevant is that to me? I don't know. $1.39, you know, that's a low cost per click. But again, where is this telling me how many leads that I have or how many conversions I have? And then what? Right. So on this next slide, you'll see, you know, we have to stop looking at click-through rates, impressions, clicks, and opens, and we need to just, back to the mail, how many people came in my dealership? How many people filled out a form? How many people phoned in to schedule an appointment or to come in and service their vehicle? And what is a conversion? A lot of these companies out there are weighting conversions in their metrics and saying, well, if they went to the hours and directions page, well, that's a portion of a conversion. Well, no, it's not. I need to sell vehicles. I'm selling cars and servicing vehicles. That means I need to touch the person. I need them to come in. I need them to fill out a form, or I need them to phone in my dealership. And so we need to concentrate on the spend, the lead, and the cost per lead, not the click-through rate, the impressions, the clicks, the opens. It's more important that we define the lead and that we measure the leads that we're getting off of our ad expenditure. Keep it simple. And the metrics that we can get in digital marketing is far better than we can get even in direct mail and email. I mean, they're just outstanding, the kind of information that you can pull if you're getting them from the right providers. So our next slide, to answer your question, kind of talks about some industry averages on those key points, and they're up there for you. But an average conversion rate, according to Google, industry average rather, is 6.1%. I think that's actually really, really low. But how do we increase that? We have to be relevant to what they're searching for. And if we tie it back into data and getting the right data points and understanding them and applying them the right way, we can be very, very specific in our messaging, and that conversion rate will go up. The more specific, the more relevant we are to what they're searching for, the more likely we are to convert that person into a potential customer. The industry average on cost per conversion is around $100. That varies pretty much. But again, cost per conversion, you know, is something that we just need to be looking at. On that last slide, or the slide that I showed you the example, there was no, why don't we go back for a second? There were no cost per conversion, again, back again. There was nothing. In fact, even in the cost, this one, I've seen reporting that doesn't even show cost. At least in this, it says that we spent $562 on this campaign. But again, come on, I need some deeper reporting there. Of the $562, how much of that did you take as your agency's profit, how much actually went to Google or Bing or any of those things. You've got to understand that. And then leads. Where are the leads? I spent $562, but did I just throw that out, or did that actually drive consumers into my dealership? I don't know, because you didn't put it in the metrics. You can't sell vehicles with impressions and clicks. Can't say that enough. So we'll go back now. That's just to answer you, Eliana. There's some industry averages. But again, I challenge everybody on this call to look into all of the metrics, understand them, understand the key data points, because that's what's going to help hold accountability across the board, both internally and externally.
John, we have a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry. We had a question that came in from Michael who wanted some clarification. On this slide, it says industry average cost per conversion $100 plus. How are you defining conversion? Is that a lead? Is that just a lead, or is that somebody who showed at the dealership?
That is a lead.
Gotcha.
We define conversion at Force very specifically. Again, we don't get into the weighted conversions. We are very specific because we're in the automotive space. We don't work with any, and dealers across the board are, how do I sell more cars? How do I service more vehicles? John, that's all I care about. I need to sell 300 units, and I know what my percentages are. I need to get 1,000 people in the dealership to do that. How do I do that? So it's a form fill or it's a phone call, period. That is a conversion to us, and that's how we measure it. But again, challenge your providers, because I'm telling you right now, they are not doing it that way. Some of them are. The good ones are. I would take the weighted out. I would say, okay, give me my actual conversion if they want to play the weighted game. Give me my actual conversion, the people that filled out a form or phone called my dealership, and then tell me all the other types of conversion. But don't put that into one big number in one fancy, colorful little chart and report that back to me. That does me no good, because it's falsified information, really. If you're considering a conversion and someone that's filling out a form or a phone call, if that's your true definition, as it is ours, well, then everything else is just going to junk up that number. So I think this leads us to our next poll question. If you want to go from there, Eliana.
Thanks so much, John. All right, audience, last poll question for you. And this one's going to really give us a lot of information depending on how you answer it. So please check out your screen and vote. The question is, which of the following reporting metrics do you find most important? Please select one of the following. Do you believe that cost is most important? Is it reach or impressions? Is it the amount of leads? Or is it the cost per lead? Please select just one of the following answers, and once we get a majority of the votes in, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. And the votes are coming in very, very quickly. Thank you, audience, so much for voting. We really appreciate it. And I have to say, John, you're opening my eyes, because I have always heard that the impressions is what we should be looking at. And then beyond the impressions, the clicks. And then it's the clicks compared to the impressions. But you're right. In the end, it really is the leads. So I guess what I'm asking is, if you get, let's just say, you do a campaign and you spend X amount of dollars and you get 100 leads from that X amount of dollars that you spent, no matter how many times the impressions was. If you spend double that, does that guarantee that you'll get 200 leads?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't. You have to look at it from a perspective of, again, how to make your ad dollars work harder. We want to make sure that every dollar spent is trackable, tangible, and targeted, and that we're reporting on those metrics and we're using data to our advantage. So it's not as important of the cost. I'm sorry. It's not, the cost per click and all of those other data points are not as important as the cost per lead and what it's taking to bring. And in every other case, with our advertising dollars and in our overall budgets at a dealership, we're monitoring, well, I know I need to sell X amount of cars. How much dollar allocation I need to spend per car to achieve that? But for some reason, when we get into the digital space, where we have more information than ever before, more metrics, more tools, we can get much highly targeted, very specific, very personalized, a detailed detailed down to the relevant information according to what they're searching for. Now we're not as focused on the actual lead, and we're looking at and we're being kind of fooled by all these other metric points. And again, hashtag smart ad dollars work. You can't sell vehicles on clicks or impressions.
And you know what? I believe you're probably the first person that I've ever heard say that, so thank you so much for that. That's the one thing I'm definitely walking away with. Let's close this poll and see what my very smart audience had to say. Well, 56% of today's audience said that they put most of their data information leverage on cost per lead. They say cost per lead is the most important. 41% said it's the leads themselves. Only 3% said it was the reach or the impressions. And no one said it was the cost. Now, I have to say, though, would these answers still be the same if we had all, owners, dealers, and GMs on here? Because I feel like they only look at the cost and they don't go deeper. But I could be wrong. What do you think, John?
They're dead on, and I'm so glad that they're answering all these questions right. We have a very dialed-in audience, which is very, very good. And I wish I actually had known that from the get-go. I would have gotten a lot more specific in my presentation. But I did a presentation previously and other webinars and speaking engagements that I do, and most of the time my feedback is, hey, man, you got to dumb it down. That's too much. Because, we need a high-level, presentation about how these things work. And so I try to, you can't always speak to everybody, so we try to dumb it down a little bit. And really just what we wanted to focus on more than anything was get everyone on the call thinking about all of these different things that we talked about and thinking how they can make an effect at their dealership or their partnerships that they're with or the people that they work with in the dealership and the agencies that they work with and the data that they collect and use it to their advantage to create a scenario where you have a true return on investment on every dollar that you spend. Because that's really what I get back to, is that in this age, you have to have that. It's vitally important. And it's going to increasingly become very difficult to compete with these large organizations that are spending millions of dollars across TV and radio to brand their dealership groups as the place to be. And so how are you keeping up with that? And on an $80,000 or $100,000 ad expenditure a month, you've got to be very specific on where those dollars go. And $2,000 on helium for the balloons is not going to cut it. And an ad placement on a TV station, that's going to go to, a network, let's just use network for example, that's going to get, all of Atlanta. When I know no one's driving more than 50 miles, and passing 3 other Toyota stores to buy at my Toyota store, that's not smart. When we can be very trackable, very tangible, and very targeted in other mediums. It'd be one thing if that was the only route, but there's so many other routes now in today's world. We've got to make sure we cut the waste, that we're not scared to make a change, and that we inspect everything that we expect. So to leave you guys as some takeaways, which that Chinese looks good. Let's go get some lunch. Make every dollar count by choosing the mediums that matter. If there's any takeaways, that would be one that I would key in on. How does that break down for your store, and how can you start shifting that immediately? Make sure data is at the core of your marketing strategy. Again, it's great for accountability. It's a great accountability tool. So make sure that we are getting it, utilizing it, and applying it, understanding it. And then track, measure, and analyze, again, every dollar that you spend. If you're looking for a vendor that is taking that approach, we'd love to hear from you. We're doing that at Force. There's not a lot. There are a few formidable competitors in the space that are also taking similar approach, and we recognize those guys, but majority are not, and are still taking a old school, if you will, approach to their advertising and marketing of their dealerships, and not getting the return on investment they need, and they're left kind of with a big question mark. If you're not growing every single month in sales and service, every single month, you got to inflict the TV commercial with the kids. We want more, we want more, we want more. That needs to be you at the dealership. You need to be growing. If you're not growing and you're just knocking out the same 100 vehicles 50 new, 50 used, whatever your breakdown is every single month, and you're content with that, you're actually dying. Your dealership in your market is going down and will continue to go down. You're either doing good or you're staying the same, which is in the same category as failing. And we want to make sure that we're growing every single month. And these are the trackable, tangible, targeted mediums that we can do that in. So again, I appreciate everyone's time. I probably rambled a little bit too much. I apologize for that. The Chinese box is making me hungry. We'd love to take some Q&A and wrap it up and help out wherever we can.
John, thank you so much. And audience, now's a great time. If you have not written in your questions, this is the time to do it. We're going to get to those question and answers right after we take care of a little bit of business. So it's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at Force Marketing are giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a $250 American Express gift card. Man, I wish I was eligible to win. So to win the $250 Amex gift card, well, we asked you to tweet using the hashtag SmartAdDollars with a comment about today's webinar. And we've selected the best tweets from today's attendees to win this great prize. The best tweet belongs to Twitter handler at Karis Kaiser. Now, from what I understand, Karis McKee Kaiser is with McKee Ford Lincoln and was very active with a lot of really great tweets about today's presentation. So thank you so much for that, Karis. You are our winner. You have won a $250 American Express gift card. One of the tweets says, "We've decided to up our digital ad budget this year to 50-50. So needed. Hashtag SmartAdDollars. Hashtag DealerOnWebby." That is awesome. Karis, thank you so much. Congratulations on your win today. I hope you spend it wisely, let's say, but really, honestly, go buy a new pair of shoes. It's awesome. And congratulations. And, of course, we want to also thank John Fitzpatrick and our good friends at Force Marketing for their incredible generosity. Thank you so much, and thanks, everyone, for playing along and tweeting today. We really appreciate it. Oh, Karis already wrote in, "Yay, thanks, Force, John, and Dealer On." Yes, I will definitely go to get new shoes. I love it. Okay.
Eliana, if I could jump in real quick.
Yes.
That's fantastic. We appreciate all of her engagement today as well as everybody else. But we understand that there are 3 areas to increase sales and service at a dealership, that being inventory, that being personnel, that being advertising and marketing at the dealership. We can help them with the advertising and marketing. Hopefully some of what we talked about today will initiate some sort of a call or an email so that we can get the opportunity to help them. But I want to throw out one other thing. If anybody does business with us as a result of listening to our webinar today, we want to help them with one of those other legs of that 3-legged stool with the personnel area. We can't really help with inventory, although our data points actually can help them figure out the right used cars to get on their lot based on what the consumers in their marketplace are searching for. So that's another added element we didn't even really get into, and help them with their inventory through giving them the right data points. But of course, I can't actually buy the cars for them. So I can help them tremendously with the advertising and marketing. But again, that other thing is the personnel. What I'm going to throw out there is that obviously only one person was able to win that $250 Amex gift card. But anybody that does business with Force Marketing, again, as a result of this and mentions this webinar, we are going to throw out a $250 Amex gift card for the dealership to reward someone on their sales team for a great, campaign or marketing effort in the month of February or March. We'll give that as a form of signing up to say, hey, this is our small token to help rally the troops, because we're gonna hit it with a bang. We're gonna get highly targeted. Everything we're gonna be doing is gonna be tangible and trackable, and that's our way to kind of get the team going. So that's my other offer out there.
Wait, you mean to tell me, I just want to get this right so that my people out there know. So if somebody takes you up on and does a campaign with Force Marketing, you're going to give them a $250 gift card to use at their dealership.
I'm going to give the dealership. They can use it however they want to. I suggest they use it to incentivize the sales team and use it as a reward for the guy that sells the most or services the most vehicle, writes the most ROs, whatever. But yes, we are going to give $250 Amex gift card to every single person that signs up for anything that we do. So that could be an email campaign. That could be a full-service agency partnership where we'll handle all of your digital assets. That could be just a search engine marketing or a retargeting campaign, or that could be a direct mail campaign. Anything that we do at Force, if we do business together and we earn that opportunity, which we're very, very grateful for, we'll go ahead and allocate $250 to rally the troops.
Wow, that is really generous. Thank you so much, John. Well, you heard it, audience. You better go and get cracking. Get yourself some $250 discount and work with one of the best in the industry. I mean, honestly, Force Marketing has been wonderful, and they definitely know what they're doing. So I wish you all the very best of luck with that. Thank you so much, John. We do have some questions from the audience if you're ready. There he is. There he is, John Fitzpatrick. Okay, audience, this is also his contact information on the screen. So if you want to take advantage and get in touch with John, seriously, one of the nicest guys in the biz. John, early in your presentation, actually you might have still been on the objective slide. Julie wrote in, and she said she didn't catch that website that you mentioned that you check every morning. What was that website? Do you recall?
Yes, cbtnews.com. It's Car Biz Today news. They do the industry, in my opinion, has needed this forever. Automotive news reports great content, but it's across all these different areas. They tell us about what's going on in Japan and suppliers, and it's great. And it's our go-to, it's our Bible. But if you're working in a dealership and you want to find out more information on training tips, on what the industry is doing down that's specific to the retail automotive industry, then every day they have a live telecast. We like them so much that we partnered with them at NADA. So right now they're running all of the interviews that they did with industry leaders such as DealerTrack, Dealer.com, DealerOn, all of the big companies. They sat down with CEOs and presidents and stuff like that at our booth. And there's some great content on there. So they're airing all of those. You'll also be able to see an interview from myself and some of the other people that work at Force. But they've really got great stuff. So cbtnews.com, I highly suggest you start your day with that. Because, again, it's 4 to 5 minutes. And while you're drinking your coffee, you get updated on the last 24 hours of the automotive industry, and you're set and ready to go.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, Julie, I hope that helps you out. It was CBT News. And if you have a follow-up question, you know you can always write on in. I love hearing from you. Our next question comes to us from Michael. And Michael says, how does one get this merging, and he put it in quotes, of electronic actions from sales through service? John, do you have any idea how to get that electronic action from the service department?
Electronic action, if he's talking about how can we deliver more service leads to the dealership, absolutely. I would love for him to give me a call. I can tell him specifically how we would do that. In fact, part of that is a partnership that we have with DealerOn, where we'll put together a specific service site for the dealership designed specifically to drive more leads and compete with the Jiffy Lubes out there and the Quick Lubes that are spending a tremendous amount of money in all of those other mediums like TV and print and radio. But we feel that our approach, teamed up with the great DealerOn website that's specific to service, and using digital marketing, direct mail, and email to get very trackable, very personalized, very targeted, we can increase, no doubt, the business into the service lane of the dealership, and we've got many cases where we've done that. So we would love to talk to them about how we can help them do that. But there's many ways to do that, and we can share those with them in depth.
I think that's a great idea. Michael, please feel free to get in touch with John at your convenience and see how we can help you. Let's see. Next question comes to us from Andy, but it's a lot like the one from Stephen, too. So I'm going to give them both to you at the same time. Andy's question is there a formula for calculating the right digital ad budget? And Stephen says, how do you determine how much to spend on SEM versus retargeting? So kind of similar, but both about how to determine the right amount to spend, I guess, before you hit that point of diminishing return that we talked about earlier. John, do you have any advice to give to Andy and Stephen and everyone else?
Absolutely. That's speaks to the heart of the presentation, data. It's so important that we are collecting the right data points, that we're partnered with the right companies that are delivering that information to us, because it can open up the world for us. It really can. It can share with us specifically who to target, how to target them. You know, when we showed that cross-shopping model segmentation example where we said, hey, look, this person in this particular market, the Ford Fusion is 2.5 to 1 cross-shop, highest cross-shop vehicle to the Nissan Altima. That kind of information can really make a difference and help us, you know, align, you know, and determine the right budget. So I would start with data and sit down and then understand, you know, the inventory levels, the personnel at the dealership that they've got, and then what their goals are. And all of that comes together to be able to put together a specific strategy. We're not the type of company at Force that has any sort of template to anything that we do. Everything is a custom strategy to the needs of that dealership in that particular market with that particular brand that they have. And again, data is a key contributor into helping us align that. So I wouldn't just spray out a number. I would say let's sit down, let's analyze all those key metrics, and let's put together a plan. And then let's constantly tweak that plan and constantly measure it. Let's read off the same sheet of music. Let's be transparent. Let's show you every dollar that you're spending where it went, whether it went to Google or whether it went to you know, Bing or a retargeting campaign, or we spent some money with Facebook on their social ad platform. Wherever that money went, digital marketing, email marketing, let's track it and let's be transparent with the reporting, and let's talk about how we can make that better. Because again, this is a two-way partnership, and anybody that you're partnered with that's not looking at it that way and not speaking to you about it every single week with a dedicated representative is probably not the type of company you want to partner with for long term in terms of where this industry is headed. So that's a very, I don't know that I specifically answered his question, but because it's way more complicated than that. But to put it in a word, data will help get you there.
Data will help figure out how much you should be spending and how much is too much, and where to put your dollars in the right place.
Based on your market, that's exactly right.
Based on the market. Yeah, because you know what? You tricked me with that whole Denver, Colorado thing. All right. All right, Stephen, Andy, I hope that helps you out. If you have a follow-up question, please don't hesitate to write it on in. I have a question for you, John, before we get to our last couple of questions. If somebody has 3 brands under one roof, how do you differ what their digital advertising would be compared to a single point store? I mean, do they literally have to spend 3 times as much to get as much bang for their buck for each of their brands?
No, we would take a look at what the data is telling us across what the shoppers are looking at in that particular market, or searching for rather, and we would tailor a very specific campaign based on the budget that we've allocated for digital marketing, and we would drive consumers into that dealership both through sales and through service. But we can tailor a campaign very, very specifically on any type of ad spend, and using the data points and making sure that we're relevant in all of our ad messaging, we can show very, very high conversion rates on any dollar spend that we have by understanding the market as well as we can with all that Dadium information.
Okay, so thank you for answering my question, but Mike has a follow-up question to that. And he says, well, what if you have 3 of the same brands in one metropolitan market? How do you help them out?
Right, so then in that case, we would do a little bit better job of geo-targeting, and geo-targeting is always a part of what we do. But specific to that question, we would want to analyze, again, getting to the goals of the dealership, each of those 3 locations, where are they trying to pull from? So historically, we could take a look at their dealer management system and pull all of the information historically on those particular stores, and find out, start to put their consumers into different buckets based on all these different data points that we have. And then once we understand the demographic, or the profile, if you will, the profile of the consumers that have already done business with you, we can align a strategy to get more of those, and then try to see where you're missing the opportunities. A lot of times you'll figure that out in all that information. Then you tailor it with what's going on in real time across the online shoppers and what they're looking at, and you can put together a strategy specific to each store, even though they're in the same market.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. That is an incredible tool when you can understand it and utilize it the right way. So that's why everything that we do here at Force is so critical. It starts and ends with data. It's the very first thing we do in every single conversation we have. Hey, Mr. Dealer, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Let's pull your data, and let's dial in to all of our data points, and let's pull all the information that's going on in your market. So now I've got two very, very important elements. I've got what you're doing at the store historically, and I got what's going on in real time. I put those two things together, and then I outline a specific strategy on how to attack the market.
Mike actually followed up with another question. He says, each of those brands are within 8 to 10 miles of each other. How can you help somebody like that who has, 3 different stores within a 10-mile radius?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. Again, we're not just in digital marketing. We're in direct mail and email as well. And so there's a, great marketing strategies you can put in place when using all 3 of those elements. But what I would say is what you definitely want to do, absolutely want to do, is make sure, because I've seen this happen a few times, make sure that all 3 of those stores are at least on the same page and using the same vendor. In that case, it's even more important that each GM is not doing what they want to do and acting as their own ad guy, so to speak, and say, well, I like, working with this paid search company or this ad agency, and I like working with this company, and they're 2 completely different companies. It's got to be the same company so that you make sure that you're not overlapping your your ad dollars. But, will there be some overlap in a particular case like his? There almost is certain to be to some degree. But again, if you're really dialed into what's going on and you've got all the key metrics, and you're using that every single day to outline your strategy and manipulate your budgets accordingly, and you've got someone working in that every day, you can at least still be eliminating the waste factor. I think he needs to. He's got a lot of follow-up questions. He needs to call me.
Mike, I agree.
678-208-0667. We can have a conversation, and if I can help him out in any way, I'd love to try.
Mike, I think you should give John a call. Let's see if we can help you out. Because you know what? The other thing that I know, John, is that if Mike, the phone number is on the screen, but Mike is asking for your direct line again, John. Did you want to hand that out again?
678-208-0667.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, John. Even though a dealer group owns 3 dealerships with, so close in range to each other, they kind of pit each other against one another. So, yes, they might all have the same vendor, but they still want, dealership A still wants to sell more than dealership B because, it's a competition amongst, your coworkers. So, but Mike, good luck. Honestly, you couldn't be dealing with anyone nicer in the industry. You're going to have a great time. Thank you so much. Last question comes to us from Shahan. And Shahan says, I've been trying to target my marketing, but not sure what the best method is yet. Can you please give suggestions on what the best way to target market is? Thanks, Shahan. John?
That's a very broad type question, how to target their market. Again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but, we'd have to take a look at the data points in that market. We'd have to look at that first before we can just target, so to speak, your messaging. We got to take a look at what's going on. So that'd be the first thing that we would do is take a look at all the different metrics that we have available to us and then put together a strategy in order to be targeted to his market. There's just no cookie-cutter answer.
Right. So you start with looking at the metrics for the geographic location. And then once you do that, once you have that down, then your next step is to look at the brand within that market?
I want to look at everything. I want to look at the brand. I want to look at the competing brands. I want to look at where the opportunity is to steal market share. I want to take a look at what the dealer historically has done, because again, that gives us a lot of information about the store and who's buying vehicles from them already with whatever they've been doing, whether they think it's been working or not, we can at least get the information to tell us what, is the customer profile look like. A lot of times we can narrow that down into a few different buckets and say, of the maybe 10 different categories of consumers, you're only targeting these 3 or 4, key, buckets, so to speak, or customer profiles. We need to go after these other 6. And it's bringing all of that data together and analyzing it the right way. But one thing that we do at Force, we've got a platform that is specific to us. It's called our Force Intelligence platform, and it's a very in-depth user interface that we're able to dial in with a dealer and read off the same sheet of music. So we're pointing out specifically why our marketing strategy is the way it is, showing him or her at the dealership specifically what the key points are that's the reason that we put that strategy together, if that makes sense. So we're both dialed in looking at the same thing. And it's been very, very successful for us when we're doing that.
Shahan, if you have any follow-up, I would say go right to the source and contact John and the good people over at Force Marketing and see if they can help you with your target market. And thank you so much for the great question. And John, thank you so much for this great presentation. You were wonderful. I always love working with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Again, you do a fantastic job. You guys are kicking butt, and we just are happy to be, mentioned in the same sentence. So thank you.
You're so kind. Oh, Shahan wrote in. He says, thanks. I really appreciate your help. So thank you so much. Okay, of course, we're right at the top of the hour. Good going, John. You said we were going to end on time, and you were right. Any questions that weren't answered during the time allotted? Well, we're going to answer by email later today. I want to remind the audience that a link to download a copy of today's webinar recording is also going to be emailed to you later today for your reference. And hey, feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. So just go to dealeron.com/webinars and click on the link on the right-hand side for on-demand webinars. And there you can access any of our past webinars, and you can also view and register for any of our upcoming webinars too. Also, this webinar is going to conclude in just another minute, and you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out, and we're always looking for great feedback from our audience. We want to know what you thought about John Fitzpatrick's presentation today. And, of course, that's not all. We're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So no reason in the world that you shouldn't check out that survey and let us know if there's anything else we can do for you. Invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar. How to Moneyball Your Advertising Strategy for 2014. With today's harsh economy, everyone in the auto industry is feeling the pinch, and dealerships need to make every dollar count. However, each month, countless dealerships nationwide waste thousands of dollars on ineffective advertising efforts. Are you one of them? Well, then maybe you should use the Moneyball approach, just like in the critically acclaimed book and movie about the incredible season of the 2002 Oakland Athletics Major League Baseball team. Dealers can use empirical data to make decisions about their advertising strategy that will actually provide more bang for their buck. Jim Flint is here to help you moneyball your advertising strategy and get more from your dealership's ad dollars. So if you're finally ready to moneyball your ad strategy for 2014 and get a whole lot more from your ad dollars, well, then this is another webinar you simply can't afford to miss. It's going to be another fabulous presentation by your friends at Dealeron. And don't forget, Dealeron's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we have some great webinar subjects planned for this year. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, well, hey, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. You can track me down online. I'm everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and I'm on all the automotive social networks. Or you can email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a good one, and stay warm.